Oh, there she is. So she's somewhere.
She's probably eating.
Well, it says she's on some. There she is.
Very good. Okay.
All right.
And we have hit the 6:30 p.m. mark. Welcome, everybody, to the Federal Way City Council meeting for February 2nd of 2021. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And liberty and justice for all.
All right.
That
was a little rocky.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking it was better, but okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Oh.
Positive.
Better.
That was interesting.
I can argue both ways.
Okay.
Actually, a little cacophony. It's almost like row your boat, with different waves. I think it's good. And that's in honor of Councilmember Kochmar, who suggested we just do it instead of doing it in chunks like that. And unfortunately, Councilmember Kochmar is a little under the weather, couldn't be with us, and so she is formally excused for this meeting. We wish her a speedy recovery, and hopefully we'll see her soon. But she's the record should reflect that her absence is excused. Okay, with that, we are under presentations. Item A, AWC Retro Pool Refund Presentation. We have Peter King of AWC and Deputy Parks Director Jason Gerwin.
Evening.
Jason, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So the floor is yours, Mr. King and Jason.
I think we just lost Susan.
Oh no, Susan's here. She's muted.
No, she's frozen. Maybe.
No.
Susan.
I'm here.
She's here.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Jason,
Can
you
you
want
see-
me?
Yeah.
And so,
Well, first of all-
Mr. Mayor, we were going to have Peter give his presentation first. He's here to talk to us about the retro pool, and then I was here to answer any questions in regards to how the safety committee operates and safety in the city from a day-to-day operational standpoint. So I would like to turn it over to Peter, and he can tell us about our retro pool refund.
Welcome to Federal Way, Peter.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, nice to be with you. I think the last time I was here, we were on Zoom and talked about Advanced Certificate of Municipal Leadership. So thanks for having us back. I am here with good news and to congratulate the city for a very strong worker safety performance. If we can pull the PowerPoint up, if that's available, I can work from that. If not, I can go from my notes. But as you all know, AWC is about advocacy, education, and services. And the Workers' Comp Retro program is a program that is one of our several services. Are we going to be able to see that PowerPoint? It's got some data on there that I don't have in my notes.
And so if you give me a minute, I can share my screen. I do have it up. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't certain that I was sharing my screen. So I just got a bunch of windows to close.
All right, thank you.
We'll get it up and we'll get it into presentation view.
So really the program is all about every employee home safe every night. And it's one of several of our service programs that the city chooses to voluntarily participate in. I'm here this evening with Brian Bishop, who is the manager of the program. So if we have questions at the end about the program, we can certainly respond. If you want to go to the next slide, a little bit of history that I can provide. You are a participant along with other cities, other 68 other public entities in a pool. It's a risk pool, risk reward. If the group as a whole does well with workers' compensation claims and costs, and the city is strong, then there's an opportunity for a refund on the amount that you all pay, the city pays to the Department of Labor and Industries. So a little bit of background, the program started back in 2004. Over the years, we've distributed back to the participants about $6.8 million. Federal Way joined back in 2007. And the year that we're talking about tonight is the 2017 year. We just closed that out. It's a 3-year rolling program. So every year we close out the program from 3 years ago. So we closed this year, and we had $2.3 million in a total refund for the pool members that participated during 2017. So the governing board decided to return 100% of that 2.3 million back to the participating pool members, and Federal Way's refund was $119,291 for the year. And I might say that that is the largest refund of any one entity that we've had in the history of the program. So congratulations to an excellent job that your staff and your city and your employees have done with safety. I might mention also that this is the second year in a row that we've had a pretty significant refund. Last year, there was a 1.8 million that was refunded for the 2016 year. So 2 years in a row, the program is doing particularly well. You can go to the next slide. It's nice to talk about the financial rewards of participating in the program, but it's really about the service and the safety of your employees. We break our services down into 2 areas: safety and compliance. So we provide loss control training. In the virtual world, we've done a lot this year online. We do safety audits and work with your staff on safety audits. We have a Work Safe Employer program, which really gives you a blueprint to creating a culture of safety within the entity. And then we assist with OSHA reporting. On the claims management side, if and when you do have claims, we handle the claim, we resolve the claim, we contact and are notified early on when you do have a claim. We immediately contact injured workers to see how best we can support them. We have access to all sorts of reporting tools that the city can go in and take a look at, background and the history and trends in the city. And then we also assist with transitional work and light duty so that we can get those employees back to work in an appropriate, but do represent the city before the Board of Industrial and Insurance Appeals. So again, the financial reward is one thing, but the other services is really where most of our members see the real value in the program. The next slide, please. I think it's important to note also that, safety just doesn't happen. It's something that cities really have to work at, employers really have to work at. So I just want to thank the City of Federal Way and Sun Tzu and Gene Stanley particularly for their leadership. They are, 2 people that work with our staff on an ongoing basis to make sure that workers are safe and that the program is managed appropriately. So congratulations there. And then with the last slide, I'll just say that we have found throughout the years of the program and working with cities, the culture of safety really, the tone is set from the top. So, to the mayor and the council and leadership within the city, you're to be congratulated when you put safety as a number one priority. And I think it shows when you have employees that are very aware of safety requirements and making sure that, in fact, they are home every evening safe with their families. So with that, congratulations. Pleased to be able to distribute some of the refund back, but also make sure that we're helping you so that your employees are safe as they do their jobs. Thank you.
Yeah, and so I was asked, just to speak or ask any questions that council or Mr. Mayor would have in regards to our safety program. But there's a few things that I wanted to highlight to make sure you were all aware of. And really, like Peter said, it comes down to staff, but it's Gene Stanley and Sun Tzu's relationship with AWC, and AWC is always open, and that relationship has been fantastic. It's really improved our safety culture within the city. And so, I wanted to mention our safety committee members, because they serve on the safety committee for 1-year terms with a few of us that are appointed. because we play kind of a more significant role. And, that's Sun So, she's the leadership position. She's kind of the heart and soul and keeps that safety committee on task and going, and has the communication with AWC and LNI and that sort of thing. We have Tanya Proctor in risk. We have Ray Gross, emergency manager. Tanya Holland out of South King Fire and Rescue serves on our board. She's not a voting member, but she provides great valuable insight. And then current members are Casey Jones of the police department, Nick Ruiz in community development, Linda Walker out of finance, and Sharon Carlson in the finance department. And so we have really kind of, at the permission and talking with AWC staff, we have adopted their motto, and our staff has embraced it. And that's every employee home safe every evening. And we talk about it before every safety meeting and at the end of every safety meeting. And both the Parks Department and Public Works have really kept in line with the monthly safety meetings to keep staff aware and keep things at their attention. But really then it comes down to the supervisors and managers, and that would be Derek Presnell and George Richard in Parks, Gene Greenfield in the Streets Department, and Ryan Thomas in the Swim Department. They're living it every day. They're making sure our employees are out there safe. And so we appreciate mayor's support and the continued council support for safety. But safety is fragile, and it needs to be paid attention to every day and not lose sight of it. And so with that, if you have any questions in regards to the safety committee or activities, I'd be happy to answer those.
All right. Thank you very much. And Peter, thank you very much for your presentation. And Jason, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Jason, can you take down the document you're sharing? Great. Okay. Council, any questions or comments? I see Councilmember Russo and then Council President Honda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Peter, for their presentation. Thank you, Jason, for your staff and everyone that's done the great work, because I know it is a culture change for some folks, and keeping everyone safe for the year is very, very hard to do it sometimes when we get complacent and lazy and things like that, but appreciate that. My one question, Jason, for you is, are there any incentive for employees for any type of safe type of periods like that?
I can't say it. So safety committee is, we operate without a budget. And so, I can't say we have any kind of incentives out there for employees. It's really about every employee wants to go home safe every night. It really is. And we have embraced that motto. And there's nothing worse for a manager or a worker when a worker gets hurt. I mean, it affects us all. We are an extended family as a work group, and I've had a couple bad days where there's been injuries, and they truly have been my worst days at work, because we do want people to go home safe, and really, a lot of times accidents, or police don't call them accidents, they're collisions or that sort of thing. It's when you lose sight and you kind of get in a rush, and that's what our managers are real good about reminding staff is, hey, slow down, rather do it right and safely the first time than cause a collision or damage a piece of equipment or something like that. So it's just a day-to-day effort and a constant reminder, and embracing those monthly safety meetings and keeping it at the forefront has been a real difference maker.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Again, please thank the staff, all the members.
Very good, thank you. Council President Honda.
Thank you, Mayor. It's always good to see you, Mr. King, and thank you for what AWC does for the cities here in Washington State. I really appreciate it. And congratulations, Jason. It's always good to get great news in the city, especially during these times of COVID. And congratulations once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. All right. Now we've got item B, proclamation, Black History Month. Accepting will be Dr. Andre Sims. Before we move on, thank you, Dr. King, and thank you, Jason, for your presentations.
Thank you.
Bill. All right. Next, we've got the proclamation, Black History Month. Accepting will be Dr. Andre Sims, Pastor Bowman, that's Joseph Bowman, Pastor Gordon Banks, Lynn Idahosa and Tirza Idahosa, and also Louis Guyden are present. Who do we have reading the proclamation?
Councilmember Asafa Dawson is reading the proclamation.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. It was on my. Thank you very much. Well, why don't we do that first, and then I will have the folks that are present to accept it, address it. So, Councilmember Asafa Dawson.
Looks like she-
And thank you, President Susan. Away Black history, strength and distinction.
Actually, Councilmember Asafa Dawson, your screen
Can you
has
hear me?
frozen up. Yeah, now we can. But your screen is kind of frozen.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes.
But you can hear me?
Yes. Now we
Okay.
can.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
City of Federal Way Black History Month proclamation. Are we good now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas much of Federal Way's honor, strength, and Whereas much of Federal Way's honor, strength, and distinction can be attributed to the diversity of cultures and traditions that are celebrated by the residents of their great region, and whereas African Americans have played a significant role in the history of our nation and Washington State's economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development while working tirelessly to promote their culture and history, and whereas, as a result of their determination, hard work, and perseverance, African Americans have made valuable and lasting contributions to our community and our state, achieving exceptional success in all aspects of society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. And whereas all Americans are encouraged to reflect on past successes and challenges of African Americans and look to the future to improve society so that we live up to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. And whereas Black History Month grew out of the establishment in 1926 of Black History Week by Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, and encourages unity and promotes the American ideal of equal education, social, and economic opportunities for all citizens. And whereas the City of Federal Way believes in the equality of all people and recognizes the value added to our community by our diversity, and now, therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and city council of the City of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim February 2021 as Black History Month in the City of Federal Way, and encourage the people of our city to join together in making this a period of rededication to the principles of justice and equality for all. Signed the second day of February 2021, Federal Way Mayor and City Council. Thank you so much.
Great. All right. Thank you very much, Councilmember Asafa Dawson. And do we have Pastor Joseph Bowman?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you.
Good evening. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for this honor. Black history is a part of American history, and I'm glad our city is taking the next steps to move the needle so that we can actually service the highly populated African American community in Federal Way. So I'm excited about the council's stance. And let's do this together. Let's put boots on the ground and advance this.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, sir. Okay. And we've got Lynn Idahosa and Tirza. Lynn?
Hi, Mayor Farrell and members of City Council. Thank you guys for your kind words. As we move into this season, I'm really excited and want to continue to see this vision of moving Federal Way forward. And I think this is a remarkable sentiment to keeping that spirit going. So thank you, and everyone have a great night.
You too. Thank you. Tirza?
Hi. I just want to say thank you for this honor. If you can see me, I'm wearing my t-shirt. Know your history, 365 days, because American history is Black history. Just Federal Way history in general. We've been here, African Americans have been making a contribution in Federal Way since 1883, when John Connor came here and purchased 157 acres of land over by the Aquatic Center. And he was then followed by Harold Booker. Then you have Harold Booker. We have Roger Freeman. We have so many Black history people that have contributed down through the years that are in this city making a difference. But lately we have in healthcare, we have, Cynthia Ricks. We've got people in the legislature, Jesse and Jamila, Christine. We have social justice, Lynn Idahosa. City government, Christine Reeves. We have so many people of color that are contributing to this Federal Way. Our school board director. I want to read a little statement that Blacks in Federal Way said in 1993 to see how far we've come. Mr. Jackson said that he hopes attitudes will change over time. He sees Federal Way as being young enough not to have the ingrained race problems other cities have. They have the perfect opportunity to get it right. He said, if they get everybody involved, then maybe other cities will take the hint. Federal Way can become a shining example, a jewel in the crown, and everybody will say, look at Little Federal Way. Look at what they're doing down there. And it's happening in 2021. We are having people come down and say, what's happening in Federal Way? We are setting the example, not only for the state, but we can set the example for the nation. We are the 5th largest in the state in diversity. And we've come a long way since they wrote this letter in 1993. But we still have a long way to go. But I'm glad that we're making those strides because African Americans have been here, they're here, and they're not going anywhere. So we're a part of the city. We're residents here and are doing a great part as we come here doing great things in this city. So we love Federal Way. Thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate each and every one of you. And I forgot to say Lydia, because she's in our, in our culture too. So bless you guys. Thank you for your service, all of you, making a difference in Black history. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tears. And we also have Louis Guyton. Louis?
How you doing, Mayor Jim Farrell and the council members? This is most definitely an honor being a part of this. We thank you for acknowledging this proclamation. And I would like to add that also, Mayor Farrell, thank you for listening to my heart and the calling of the proclamation of the Black Lives Matter. That was last month on Martin Luther King. With your leadership, you have, I guess, Steve McNay say he will be the staff for him and I to actually do a call to action, to really mobilize, get some strategies, vision, strength, and get the village, I would say men, healthy men and Black women into the village so that the village is safe, thriving, economically developed, and that we all can be happy, living in love, harmony, and peace. So thank you for hearing me, Mayor Farrell, and I'm excited how I will lead the charge and be a pioneer for the call to action, because words are good, but action is verbs. So I'm the one that's about verbs. I don't get caught up in a lot of words. I'm the practitioner. I'm going to put it in practice. So thank you. Looking forward to working with you, Jim Farrell, and the city council and others. And just say thank you and grace and peace. Just know we're up for a challenge. We're going to get oppositions and resistance, but just know you got a true fighter. I'm from Louisiana, Shreveport. I've gone through this battle many times. So I will be on the front line, making sure we got soldiers ready to fight. Thank you. Grace and peace.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we're just, this community is so blessed to have such a great African-American community and also a great council that really has a heart for this work as well. So I'm really proud of my policy partners on the city council and all they do and all the support they do in this community. So I'd like to say thank you once again to Pastor Bowman, Lynn Idahosa, Tirza Idahosa, and Mr. Guyton. Thank you very much. And Louis, I from Shreveport, my identical twin brother is a TV news reporter in Shreveport. I understand you've seen him on TV.
Oh, yeah. You tell him about LSU, too. You can tell him about LSU. Mayor Fair, you can talk about LSU. You would play LSU in the Valley.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, hey, well, plenty of time to talk up and catch up, and plenty of time for fellowship. And so, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I do have to tell you guys a funny story about my twin brother. The last time I was in Shreveport, when I was walking through the airport, my identical brother is like a live reporter, and the people at the airport thought I was just being a stuck-up reporter because I was just walking by, and they kept trying to talk to me, and I'm like, oh, kind of waving at them, and they're like, oh, okay, I see the way it is. And then somebody finally said, aren't you Jeff? And I said, that's my twin brother. And they kind of gave me one of those looks until my brother walked up, and it was the two of us in the airport. So it's quite a funny thing to have an identical twin walking around. So thank you, Louis. Appreciate it. Great. And thank you so much, Council, for your support, and a great job, Lydia and Council, on our honoring Black History Month, and it's a full month, and so we're hopefully we'll have some other things to celebrate and work on. So thank you. Okay, so let's now move to the Mayor's Emerging Issues and Report. We've got the annual State of the City address that I'll deliver on February 25th. That'll be at 6 p.m. And obviously, gosh, I can't believe it's been a whole year since. And that was really the last time we gathered as a whole community at the PAC. We can't do that in these days in COVID. So we're going to be live on Channel 21. We'll be in YouTube and Facebook Live. So we'll get all those, and we'll make sure that it's recorded as well and replayed, and invite the community to watch live. Hopefully we'll have a good presentation, a good show for everybody, and really just talk about the great work that our council and our staff, and it really is, a lot of great things happening at the city, and we want to share those with you. We had a great budget process that I know that the council's proud of, and I'm proud of, and a lot of good things happening. So tune in, and we'll have some good things to talk about. Okay, now. Next, we've got the COVID-19 update. Emergency Manager Ray Gross to talk about what we're doing with regard to vaccine distributions and the most recent update. Ray.
So, good evening, Mayor, Council President Honda, and council members. I'll give you a brief update tonight on COVID-19, vaccines, the current numbers, and the current phase that we're in. Let's see if I can share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, we can, Ray.
Okay. So these are the vaccine numbers, both from the CDC on a country level, Washington State and King County. One of the neat things on King County's vaccine dashboard is if you go to demographics, they now have King County by zip code, and you can punch into each zip code and find out how many vaccines have been delivered. For the two primary zip codes in Federal Way, according to their dashboard, we're looking at 4,755 people have been vaccinated, according to their dashboard. It's kind of new, so some of the data is still behind, but I think that's going to be a pretty valuable tool in the coming days. This is your typical slide. We're still in phase 1B, tier 1. We're probably going to be there for a while until the either the health officer or the governor decides we can move on. I'm not going to dwell on this slide. Some of the vaccine update for phase 1B, tier 1. Locations to still receive vaccination really haven't changed. Public health clinics, long-term care facilities, which is being handled by the federal government via contract to CVS and Walgreens. but Department of Health and King County Public Health are assisting in that area as well now. Hospitals, pop-up clinics, and mobile teams. Spend a little time on these. So the mobile teams are something that King County Public Health has put together, a couple with local fire departments and a couple with public health. Their idea is to go to adult family homes as well as other people that are unable to leave their home and to provide vaccinations to that population. And then pop-up clinics, the idea behind that is businesses, employers, as well as long-term care facilities, they can work with King County Public Health and set up a pop-up clinic, get their employees vaccinated, as well as potentially assisting some of the community around them that qualify depending on what phase we're in. Lastly, the high volume sites. We had the Performing Arts Entertainment Center, Federal Way Community Center, the Showware Center in Kent, and the GSA area in Auburn. Those are the ones for South King County. I want to say the Performing Arts and Entertainment Center is on what King County is calling a holding pattern. We were hoping for mid-February to have maybe a soft opening and then for it to eventually work up to potentially 2,000 vaccinations a day. Right now, it's unclear if they can support 3 high volume sites. So the one in Kent and one in Auburn opened yesterday. Ours is on hold, the Performing Arts Entertainment Center. And they said they would let us know in March if they think it's going to be a green light or not. So right now it's basically supply of vaccine. That's the holdup for that, as well as probably some other logistics. But for the PAC, it's currently on pause, at least from the King County perspective. There might be something else in the works. I'm unsure of that. But the Federal Way Community Center, with the direction of the mayor, leadership from CHI Franciscan, and I want to say Virginia Mason, that's still a go. We're looking at February 10th as potentially opening, and it will most likely be probably a soft opening as well, working up to 1,000 vaccinations per day. Then others, King County Public Health is at least initially hoping to have 10 of these sites throughout the county, but I think they're studying Kent and Auburn to see how that goes, as well as hoping for an increase in supply of vaccine. Going with the supply of vaccine, Johnson & Johnson is in the news. Potentially, they're looking at applying for emergency use authorization this week. It'll probably, if they stay with the pattern of the other two, get reviewed sometime next week. And then late February, if they get approved, that vaccine will be on the market. Johnson & Johnson is a 1-dose vaccine. It's not an mRNA vaccine. It's a viral vector approach. In their phase 3 studies, there were 0 allergic reactions to it. Right now, depending on how you look at it, it has a lower effective rate against COVID, but they are advertising that in their test study, they had 100% effectiveness against hospitalizations of COVID, as well as 100% effectiveness of no deaths from COVID. Their test study group started out around 60,000, and then they lowered it down to a little over 40,000, which is, a reasonable sample. And of that sample, they got 100% against COVID hospitalizations or deaths. I don't know what that would look like in a larger population, percentage-wise. And then there's AstraZeneca. It's still in the running as well. AstraZeneca is being used in the United Kingdom, and it is showing effectiveness against the UK variant, as well as, I want to say, the Brazilian variant. But the Brazilian variant and the South African variant, all of these vaccines are showing less effectiveness against those two variants. And lastly, at the very bottom, there's a lot of concern about people who do not have internet access, even though Washington State Department of Health is still using findyourphasewa.org as their central way to determine whether people are in the right phase and establish an appointment to get a vaccine. They've set up a COVID-19 assistant hotline with those two numbers for people who do not have internet access or friends or family that can help them via internet access. So those two numbers are available. Those numbers also have language capability, so Ukrainian, Spanish, that sort of thing. And lastly, they're increasing the staffing because the wait times of this assistance hotline is pretty significant. So they have hired and trained call takers, as well as allowed the call takers to make appointments. And that's a pretty significant improvement. This is where we're currently at with the Healthy Washington Roadmap to Recovery. These numbers will kind of get reviewed every other week on Friday. And then if you get approval to move on to phase 2, that happens the following Monday. Right now, these are the numbers for the Puget Sound region, which is Snohomish, King, and Pierce. And these will get reviewed, let's see here, I believe on February 12th. And I want to say right now, the numbers are still looking pretty good in a downward slope. These are the COVID numbers for the city of Federal Way. The first column I have there is numbers for Federal Way since the very start, numbers since yesterday. So those are actually Sunday numbers. It's just how they update the numbers. I can't get today's numbers when I had to turn into PowerPoint. But the important column is the past 14 days, and that's a very significant drop in all numbers. And this last column here, those 50 years old or older since the start, I put that in there because that's the 50-year-old mark is kind of the line right now as far as the phase 1B tier 1. It kind of starts at a 50-year-old with multi-generational generations living in the same household. So that's why I put that there. The one thing I want to kind of highlight is deaths. This group here, 50 years old, all the way up to the age range of 80 plus. So there's 3 or 4 age ranges in there. They account for 80 of the 83 deaths in Federal Way. Also on this slide, I have the COVID-19 variants that are the buzz of the medical world right now. This is as of January 31st. The UK variant, there's 467 known cases in 32 states. King County Public Health believes that by mid or late March, that will be the predominant strain of COVID in the United States. It has a higher infection rate, and they're now kind of discussing it may have a higher death rate as well. There's also the South African variant. There are 3 cases in 2 states, one of the Carolinas and Maryland. That one has the medical community fairly concerned. The current vaccines are somewhat effective against it, but their percentage of effectiveness against the South African variant is lower. The potential for this one is, I want to say, a topic of conversation in the medical community. And lastly, there's the Brazil variant. There's 1 case in 1 state, that being Minnesota, and that one is about the same concern as the South African variant. And Mayor, that concludes my presentation. I'd be more than willing to answer any questions.
Mayor, you're muted.
Very good. Okay. Very good. Council President Honda, and then Councilmember Tran, and then Councilmember Cepheus-Dawson.
Thank you. Thank you for the report, Ray. The Senior Commission at their last meeting had suggested that we have reports on COVID at our council meetings. Apparently, several of the seniors do watch these meetings and feel that it's the best way to get the information out to the community. So thank you. I live by the aquatic center, and I've noticed that the amount of cars there have been quite reduced. In fact, today there were very, very few cars there twice when I drove by. Do we need to continue having that location as a testing site, or could that be changed into a vaccination site eventually?
Well, I do know the droppage of testing is about 30%. And I want to say they initially kind of designed the aquatic center to become a vaccination site. And they did I want to say a pilot test there on a couple of Sundays ago. So the potential of switching that over, I want to say is high. I haven't been in discussions about that, but I know it was in consideration when they first designed it as a testing site. So it might just flip, because initially they were looking at having 1 lane to do vaccinations with the 4 remaining lanes to continue testing. But as you recall, as you stated there, it might make sense to switch that. We already have a pre-designed vaccination site right there.
I have another question, and it's on the private company that's downtown that's doing COVID testing. From their information, they're on Facebook. They have 3 different types of testing that they do. Are those tests reported to King County so that the positives can be counted and the number of tests can be counted
that
are done at that site?
I know they're supposed to be, and if the site doesn't do it, the employer, if people get tested there, the employer is supposed to report that. But I'll need to research that if where their reports actually go, because as you brought up, way back when this first started and testing was started, the reporting of that was very difficult. So I'll have to research that to find out if their reports are actually included.
Okay. Thank you. And I just wanted to say that the sites in Kent and Auburn are for those 75 and older. That was discussed this morning on the call with Director Hayes. And the governor has allowed those 65 and older to be vaccinated, but in King County, though, South King County, those two sites are for 75 and older. And it has caused some discussion among people in the community, but that's where the need is right now, apparently in South King County. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ray, thank you for your information. Based on the information provided, Washington received roughly about 1.6 million doses of vaccine, and we given out about close to 700,000. So that's only about 43% of the total allotment that we received. So my question is this, actually two questions. One, do you know why we only give out 43% of the allotment? Is that because we don't have enough medical workers to give out these shots? And the second question is, what is the plan to give those out as soon as we can? Thank you.
Okay, so some of this is just my knowledge. So I want to say the biggest concern is the supply chain coming from the federal government to the state is unstable. So there's not a confidence level of what the Washington state's going to receive next week. And I want to say each layer at the state level, as well as out to the counties and the providers in each county, there's just a concern of that second shot that's out there that needs to happen. I want to say Washington State has taken the position that we're going to stay as close to the test studies of these vaccines as possible. That's why when they were talking about, well, maybe we can just administer one shot, Pfizer and Moderna, but the Department of Health was pretty much against that. So that's, I want to say, the unreliable supply chain between the federal government and the state government is causing the state government, as well as all the providers under the state government, to probably hold back on just giving out the vaccine. I would say that's probably the bulk of why there's that amount in reserve. The second part is what you touched on, just the resources. The demand is out there. The phase, whatever phase we're in, is kind of choking that demand down to whether they qualify or not to get a vaccine. And then lastly, number of providers that are actually receiving, providing the shot. Some of the places are not reaching capacity. Other places are not getting in the full appointments. So kind of like what we heard tonight, there are some providers out there that have pulled vaccine out ready to give shots. They didn't administer all of them. So,
right. And we are, as I think Ray said earlier, we're going to be contracting with CHF Franciscan and the hospital, and they're going to be utilizing the community center within about a week or two. And then we are reaching out to other providers. If King County Public Health is not in a position based on their supply, then we're reaching out to other healthcare providers to use our Performing Arts and Event Center. So it sounds like they've got that. This is an answer to Councilmember Tran's question. We do know that there are other healthcare providers out there that have access to a vaccine, and we're going to utilize our resources available and make available the resources of the city to facilitate this as best we can.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've got Councilmember Assefa Dawson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ray. Actually, two questions. One is a statement that I think a lot of council members always make, is around access, especially language and interpreter. And I know you touched on it, but you mentioned a few languages like So just making sure that all the other languages are considered. So it's just a statement I'm making. My question really is around the different vaccines. And this morning, several of us were during the call that Council President Susan mentioned. There was a discussion or information around Johnson & Johnson that vaccinations are at 75% efficacy for vaccination against COVID. However, 100%, no, I forgot what it was, 100% efficacy for hospitalization. And what was it? If you guys remember. But if you have that information, could you please share it with us? Because I know I've heard about the 75% for avoiding or not testing positive for COVID, but I forgot what the 100% was for. And if you can help us understand that, it would be great.
Okay, so
and Council President Honda, if you remember what that was.
It was hospitalizations and death, but it was just it was just in their testing. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, it'll be interesting when they're approved and they start using that vaccine to see how those numbers work out.
So if you could, Ray, if you have any information, if you could just clarify what that is, and I just wanted the public to also hear about it, if you have any information on that.
Okay, so Council President Honda is correct. The 100% efficacy is against hospitalization and death from COVID during the Johnson & Johnson phase 3 trials. And that phase 3 trial consisted of about 40,000 plus volunteers. The other part of that, they tested 4 different locations around the world. In the United States, it was 75% effective against the COVID virus here. And then around the world, it was like 66% effective in South Africa. And that's probably because of the South African variant. And I want to say there's between 75 and 66, there's 2 other percentages of the other 2 locations. I don't know what the percentage is of those 2, but that gives you the bookends of the effective percent against COVID-19 in those locations. Is there any other additional detail that you'd like, or does that answer your question?
No, it answers my question. I just wanted it to. I also wanted the public to hear, because in the news I had not heard about the hospitalization and death rates at the 100%, but I did hear about the 75%. So that was news to me, and I just wanted that to be shared with the public. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. Now, thank you, Ray. All right. Now, let's move to the food drive to support the Federal Way Senior Center. That was on last Saturday. I'd like to thank Councilmember Greg Baruso and Council President Honda. Greg, can you tell us a little bit about, I know that we had several of our council members, if not all of our council members involved, and that did shifts, over at the Fred Meyer there off of 21st in Twin Lakes. Greg, would you like to tell us about the event and how many, and thank you very much for you and your colleagues. What was the total yield in regard to pounds of food and dollars raised?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, we all know that, it's around this time of year after the holidays that our food banks are empty. So even in times of COVID. So thank you for allowing me to indulge a little bit and get that done. And I'd like to thank Chris Brown, so always there doing food drives with us. And I'll do my thank yous first before I give you numbers. But Jerry Lynn, again, is always there for that.
Here.
Council members, thank you for showing up and helping out. Diversity Commission members were there also. And again, thank you for that. So even though, we usually have about 5 to 6 stores around the city, and with one store, with 5 stores, you usually do about 5,000 pounds. But for one store, we had close to 1,500 pounds of food donated to the senior center, and also about $282 of cash. So I thank our community for coming out, supporting. The rest of us are in need, and for helping out. And again, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council President Honda, for allowing us to do this. I think it was a great event, and I think that as for a drive-through, I think went well. So thank you.
It was great. Great job, Council. Okay. Now moving on. Last week we had the African American Black quarterly meeting. It was the third time that we've had this meeting. Our first was last. I think it was the last week of July. Then we had one in October, and so January 27th was our third meeting. It was productive. It was good. There were. I think that we had a full agenda. It was a 2-hour event. And I would like to say that it was a challenge at times. I think these types of issues, especially when people speak honestly with each other, that got tends to be sometimes a little emotional. But I think it is important for all of us to deal honestly with each other and candidly, and it was a good discussion. We're going to keep working on these and make sure that all the voices in our community are heard, and that there's some healing to do in this community. And I think we can all play our part. It was great to see so many of the council members there. It was great to see so many of our colleagues, our community members there, and it was a good discussion. And so it was something that we're going to continue, and we're going to make sure that that we're going to have a forum where we can come together as a community and share these things. So it's good. Okay, and then those are quarterly, so we'll have one. Probably the next one's going to be in April. Let's see here. Then our legislative update, Steve McNay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, Council President Honda. Legislative update's really short tonight. As you are aware from my email yesterday, our lobbyist Aaron Flagger has taken another position, and we wish Aaron well. It's something you can't pass up for his family, and nobody faults him for that. That being said, we are 4 weeks into a legislative session, and it's a complicated legislative session with the virtual nature of it. A typical lobbyist will talk to 300-400 people a day. In this instance, maybe more. In this instance, we're looking at 10-15 people. So we interviewed some lobbyists over the weekend. I spoke to a lady named Carrie Telfson. The mayor spoke to other lobbyists, and at Mayor Farrell's direction, we initiated a professional service agreement with Jim Hedrick with H2 Consulting and Luke Esser, who is an attorney and well-regarded former state senator, state representative. And I have to tell you that our first meeting yesterday was incredibly productive. It was very focused, and while the contracts were literally just signed today, we will be getting in the next 2 or 3 days an update out to the council about the direction we're going to go for the remainder of the session. We have
if I could just interrupt for a second.
Yes.
We sure are appreciative of Aaron Flagger and all of his work over the years. He did tremendous amount of work getting resources and things accomplished for our city. Sometimes in life you just can't help the timing, and I think all of us appreciate that. Sorry to interrupt you, Steve. But we acknowledge that. We appreciate it. We just happen to be in the middle of a legislative session. So that's why we actually had Steve McNay, no, you're Steve McNay. We had Jim Hedrick help us, who has 30 years of experience down Olympia, 14 years as a contract lobbyist, and Luke Esser, who's tremendous amount of experience. But the contract is through the end of the session. When the session's over, we'll reevaluate. Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure that we said a special thanks to Aaron.
Yeah, no, Aaron's great, and we are very fortunate to have him. And as you will remember, Aaron's from Federal Way, and so he really took a lot of pride in representing Federal Way, and did a heck of a job, especially getting some of the PAC funding. So we're super excited that Aaron has his opportunity for his family. He's being blessed with this opportunity, and that's awesome. Moving in a new direction, however, this is a complicated session. As I've said many times, you all know that. And so working with EJ, working with other staff, we're putting together some specific asks under transportation with dollars, shovel-ready dollars now to go after while we're working on transportation projects for the state, as well as the remainder of your legislative agenda. So we'll be giving you some updates here very shortly with the new direction. And we're very excited to be working with Luke and Jim. I worked in Luke's office 16 years ago. And so it's pretty exciting to be able to work with him in this capacity. And Jim Hedrick obviously did a lot of work for the city with the university initiative early on, and is an incredibly well-regarded, incredibly professional lobbyist with just a ton of experience. So we're very lucky to have these two outstanding individuals represent us in Federal Way. So that is your update, and I'm available for any questions at any time.
Oh, Councilmember Moore. Sound. Councilmember Moore.
Goodness sake, that's embarrassing.
Take two.
Take two indeed. Steve and Mr. Mayor, thank you for your quick action, swift action, and making this happen. Clearly, this is a very important session. And what makes it important is because of everything being so virtual and making sure that potentially by the hour. Having worked in Olympia, and I'm definitely aware of Luke Esser and Jim Hedricks. In fact, I should say Councilmember, Jim Hedricks. He's also a council member, local council member. So I think that only makes it, strengthens his advocacy level on our behalf, because he understands how important local governments are. He understands how there's a strong necessity for funding. So, and Luke, I'm excited about him. And so I'm looking forward to the results they're going to bring. I'm optimistic that leadership will work very closely with our members at our delegation. And so I'm certain and positive that we will still have a great set of results as well. So I'm pleased to see this, and I'm looking forward to looking at the results. And with that, I'm pleased to see this take place. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we were very lucky to have Jim Hedrick's assistance in our higher education initiative, in which we were able to secure that money. So, yeah, it's going to be very helpful. Okay, now let's move on to, that concludes my report. Thank you very much, Steve. These are the council committee reports. Council President Honda, as the chair of Parks and Recreation, Councilmember Kochmar is unavailable this evening. Is there anything you'd like to say about that committee or anything there?
I would just say that the next meeting is on February 9th at 5 p.m. and it will be on Zoom. It's a short agenda, but we'll be getting some information on what the city does for energy conservation, and that should be very interesting to hear about. So we hope that Councilmember Kochmar feels better soon, and we miss her tonight. So we'll see you all on February 9th at 5 p.m.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, Land Use Transportation Committee, Councilmember Brusso.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a meeting last night at 5 o'clock. We will be bringing 7 items, actually 8, but 7 items for consent for our next meeting, with our first reading of ordinance for speed limit ordinance amendment around the Lakota area. So we don't have anything tonight on consent agenda. So our next meeting will be March 1st at 5 o'clock, and it'll probably be Zoom again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Finance, Economic Development, Regional Affairs Committee, otherwise known as FEDREC, Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The committee met on January 26th this year, but I was out on a family emergency. So committee members Linda Kochmar and Council President Susan Honda facilitated the meeting. So thank you both for doing that. The committee approved 5 items that are on the consent agenda for your consideration today. They are vouchers for November 2020 and December 2020, monthly financial report for November 2020, and the initial monthly financial report for December 2020. The committee also approved the agreement with Seattle Sport Commission to coordinate the NCAA swimming championships. And this is the result of the good work from Mr. Tim Johnson. So I just want to mention that. Thank you, Tim. So if I remember correctly, the committee had a good discussion about the senior utilities rebate program. And hopefully Council President Honda will share some information about that during her report. And our next meeting is going to be on February 23rd, 2021 at 5 p.m. Is going to be on Zoom. And that is the end of my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, next, Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, LTAC, and that is Councilmember Sefa Dawson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The anticipated NCAA championships, we were looking forward to hosting that, and we just found out that King County has decided not to make available the Aquatic Center for the Pac-12 or the NCAA championship. So unfortunately, those are not going to take place. And our next scheduled meeting was for February 10th. However, we may have to move it to later in February just to have staff to have time to prepare how to address the realignment of resources of the LTAC budget, given these changes and cancellations that we just shared. So my report.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, the PIC report, Public Issues Committee, Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I'll report on is the next PIC meeting, PIC Committee, Public Issues Committee. It's going to be February 10th at 7 p.m. And there is no agenda that has been prepared as of yet. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Council President report.
Thank you. Our last senior commission meeting, the seniors had a request that the council talk about the utility rebate program. And it just so happens that it was on the FedRAC agenda last week, which was perfect timing. The utility rebate program is for seniors who qualify, and it's for those with disabilities who qualify. I would say right before I was sworn in as a council member, I was at a Parks Committee meeting, and I remember the council members discussing the utility rebate program and the pros and cons of it. And it's time that we have another discussion about it and see what our program is compared to the other cities, how we can improve it. I have been very concerned the last few years. We've had a decrease in the amount of seniors and those who are disabled apply for assistance. And we know that there's probably more people that need assistance that are applying. So we need to look at how we run the program and make it easier for those to apply and easier also for our staff, because it can be very time consuming. I am really excited that at the next FedRAC meeting, our financial director will have quite a report to give us, and we can have a great discussion. And I will be sure that the senior commission members know that they're welcome to attend that, because they do have some ideas on how it might be helpful to connect with our seniors in the community. But we can't forget that it's for those who are disabled and who qualify also. I would also like to thank Councilmember Baruso for the food drive. That was initially I was a little concerned with COVID because right as we started talking about it, the variants of COVID were being announced that they were here in the States, and so it was a little concerning. But between Chris Brown and Councilmember Baruso and Jerry Lynn Clark, things just went off great. And our community in Federal Way is so giving. I was at the door for a while, and people are just so amazing here in Federal Way, wanting to give and participate in this. In fact, they wanted to know if we were going to be here next weekend because they would come next weekend. So it's, we could talk about that because it was a different way to do a food drive than we've done before. And I think it was a really good way to do it. You could drive up, drop off your donations, and have minimal contact, which is what we're concerned about these days. So thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, great job, Council. Great job. And I know that you were involved, all the Council was involved, and it's just great. I know, right? It was, it's good. And, just think, once we get to, won't it be nice? It's like when we get everybody vaccinated and we can get past this, at some point, hopefully we can get back to, normal. But I'm really proud of everything we're doing here, during this time to help our neighbors. Okay, so that's what we got in regard to reports. Now it's time for the most important part of the meeting, which is public comment. Stephanie, I understand that Pastor Banks is on the line. Is that correct?
Yes, Pastor Banks joined the meeting, so we'll go ahead and put him first, and then we have 3 other people signed up for citizen comment. So Pastor Banks, if you're there, you can go ahead and speak.
Yes, it's great to be a part of the meeting. You guys are informative, and I'm always appreciative of the tremendous impact that we are making together. Especially with the food that you guys that the community is receiving from those of us who are involved in giving out food. It really does make a huge difference. I was surprised that as we've been doing it every week for several months now, how impact and important it is for people to receive that. So, man, I'm grateful that we're partnering together to make a difference in the community.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor Banks, for your ministry and for the work you do in our community. We really appreciate it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Betty Taylor, and after Betty Taylor, we have Allison Fine Taylor.
Hi, Betty. Betty, the floor is yours. Hello?
She's muted, Mayor.
Oh, is that a *6 thing?
Yeah, yes. Oh.
Or is it #6?
Thomas said she's on Zoom, so she should be able to just unmute. Oh, there you are, Betty.
Hi, Betty.
Oh, hey. Hi. Hey, what I would like to talk about is I was thinking about a new code ordinance in Federal Way, and I don't know how to get an ordinance. I don't know how to do it, but okay. The new ordinance in Federal Way to all high rises or apartment complexes in Federal Way that they have mold inspections before renting, and the inspection should not be done by the property owner, but should be done by the code enforcement. Okay. Also, that landlords should not be allowed to rent property that are not up to code. On each new high rise that comes into Federal Way has to be inspected prior to tenants coming in. Okay. All right. And then also I was thinking about existing properties existing properties need to be inspected, and they should be fined if they're not up to code. Also, I'm asking for there should be protection for residents protection for residents if the resident has been in good tenant with paying rent on time and no previous evictions. And also if a tenant decides to file a complaint against the apartment complex, that there's also a clause in there for protection for retaliation against that tenant. Okay, and also, just making it stronger, because I know everybody knows what's going on in my situation, but let me pause for a minute and take this time to thank some very incredible people. I thank the City of Better Way. I thank Mayor Jim Farrell. I thank City Council who has listened to me and have stood by me. And they are still standing by me. I'm grateful for the citizens in the City of Better Way. I'm grateful for people that have not given up. I thank for people that have just encouraged me to keep doing what I'm doing, because it's a good thing. And let me say this. This is not about me, okay? This is about Better Way. This is our city. Certain things we cannot allow in our city. And we have to make everybody accountable. Housing has to be a choice. But the choice should not be, I'm going to live in something that's not inhabitable. We should all desire good housing that's affordable for all. That's all.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you so much. We're so sorry you're going through this. And, I just have to say that this is all just going to be Betty, this is just going to be a bad memory before you know it. So you're going to move past this, and we're with you and we support you. So, and Bill, let's talk to her about different types of ordinances. Okay. Next comment.
We have Allison Fine on the line is next, and then following Allison would be Cynthia Ricks Macatan.
Great. Allison, the floor is yours.
Hey, before I start my time, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Maybe before you start my time, can we just talk about Betty Taylor for 1 second and how much I love her and her resiliency, and how much like the way that I work, when things affect me, it affects me, but then I look at how it affects the bigger community, and she's special, that one. We are lucky to have her. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I just was trying not to cry myself. Okay, so I'm here to talk about two things. Hello, Mayor Farrell, Council President Honda, the rest of the council, and Council Member Kochmar. I hope you're feeling better. Number one, I just want to bring attention to, I'm guessing I'm not the only person that's ever done this, but maybe I am, the fact that when you are heading west down, I don't know, whatever Enchanted Parkway, whatever 348 turns into by Winco, basically, when you're heading west over that intersection at first, and there is the light that is actually the entrance to Winco is red. If there are cars lined up, especially at night, if you have a green light crossing over first, you sometimes hit those cars that are stopped at that light really, really, really fast. And it kind of happens from the reverse coming from the Aquatic Center East. But I really think that maybe we should look at putting up some sort of warning light that says that the light at Winco is red, because there are so many near accidents, so many people that slam on their brakes, people getting in and out of that apartment complex, the Encore Apartments. It's really concerning, and I hope we can look at that. But more importantly, and I hate that I only have 3 minutes. I don't know if you guys saw what happened in Rochester, New York this weekend, but about 10 officers caused extreme trauma to a young 9-year-old Black girl and pepper sprayed her and put her in a car. And it was effing horrendous. And I will not cuss on this because it's recorded, but it was horrendous. And I would love to see us looking at some sort of a policy about how we treat youth in our community, and how when police are encountering youth, that we do not do things like pepper spray them when they are in the middle of a mental health crisis. Because in my opinion, watching the video, there was a lot going on, and I understand that if they felt the need to get her in that car, they could have pushed that little girl in the car and closed the door.
Yeah.
The fact that they fought with her the way that they did was disgusting. It was deplorable. Those people should not just be suspended with pay. They should be fired from their jobs and not be allowed to work with the public. And I'm wondering, I'm going to be asking on every level of government that we start setting policy around not assaulting 9-year-old girls or boys or non-binary children, and using our police to do so, because that is not okay. We have seen too much of this. And I'm wondering if maybe we can look at this from a public health perspective and a safety perspective and set some parameters so our police in Federal Way never do that to a child ever, because that was just one of a zillion cases. But like, let's take a stance and do something as the city and start setting some precedent about how we treat our youth in this community and never be what we saw in that video. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll talk to the chief about their practices, and I think I saw it as well, and I'm sure millions of people saw it. So and obviously that's under investigation right now. So I'll talk to the chief about that and see what our policies are. But I've never heard of application of pepper spray or what's referred to as OC spray to a minor like that. Chief, any just a brief comments on that?
Mayor, I haven't seen the video of the incident, but I could tell you that we provide extensive training with our staff in terms of use of force. We also, have really good policies. As you know, we are nationally accredited, and our use of force policy is thoroughly reviewed by CLIA and other professionals that come in our organization. So, we're not, law enforcement isn't perfect, but we certainly seek for excellence within the Federal Way Police Department. We really do enjoy a low level of force incidents, and we believe that is because of our high level of training that we provide to our staff, reality-based training. We review all use of force thoroughly at every level, and we provide constant feedback, debrief. So we are very conscientious about earning the public's trust, reducing the number of force. I can also tell you that we have very low incidence of citizen complaints within our agency. And to my knowledge, I'm still gathering the data, we haven't had one race bias complaint in 2020 from any of our residents. So I think we're doing well, but I want to be careful. We hire from the human race, and sometimes under stressful situations, people make poor decisions or bad decisions. And when that happens, we hold our people accountable. And that's one way of keeping our organization healthy as well. So I want to assure the policy group, the mayor, council, that we seek for excellence within our agency.
Okay, thank you, Chief. I just sent you the NBC News article, which likely contains the video of that. We should probably be well informed of that and make sure. I think it would be worth, let's you and I discuss, make sure that we've got clear parameters that the use of OC spray with children of that tender age, not be. Let's have a conversation about it. If you could review that, it's actually a major national policy issue now. And sounds like those 3 officers have been, either 2 or 3 officers have been suspended from the force at Rochester. So let's talk about it. If you could review that and some of the other articles pertaining to that. Thank you, Allison, for bringing that up. Okay, next comment.
We have Cynthia Ricks-Nakatan on the line. She should be next.
Great. Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Good evening, Cynthia. It's okay. You go ahead. Thank you, Cynthia. The floor is yours.
Okay. First of all, good evening, Mayor Farrell, Council President Honda and other City Council members. Thank you so much for allowing the space for the community. Mother Betty Taylor, we love you. We support you. We're here for you. You are a fellow. I believe you're an alternate on the Human Services Commission, and just know that we're keeping you in our prayers and we're here for you as best that we can. Tonight, I just wanted to thank the mayor regarding the quarterly meeting. It was a very difficult meeting. Some of the issues were very difficult for people, as it should be. And I think that when you're having real talk with the mayor and real talk with the community, people should feel uncomfortable, because only there, when you're vulnerable, can change happen and people really understand. So I just wanted to thank you all, the Federal Way Black Collective and the mayor, for allowing me to moderate and facilitate the last couple of meetings. Going forward, I will be pushing for a professional to help out with the agenda setting, as well as running the meetings and making sure that we have someone at the table who can do that, someone who can handle the emotions and really keep us focused. And even if we need to do breakout rooms, and really figuring out ways in which we can stay action oriented, because as the mayor put in his proclamation today, we want to have actionable items, and we want to be able to make sure that we achieve those goals and stay focused. So I want to thank you, Mayor, for meeting with the community, for being vulnerable, for staying on task, and creating that venue and agreeing to it. It's rough, it's tough, I know. We will get through this together, and we're going to make sure we get us some professional help that can remain neutral and do this well. So this concludes my remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia, and you did a great job. I was really thought you did a really good job taking it. Basically, we all got a timeout, which I thought was, I think it was wise. And we hit a moment in that meeting in which I think all of us just need to take a step back, take a breath, and you did a great job, Cynthia. Thank you so much for your service, and I think your suggestion is well taken. And I think we need to. We need to have these conversations, and we'll do so. And I think it's about bringing people together, but it's not just about bringing people together and papering over issues and not acknowledging the pain that's out in the community. And sometimes that requires people. Oftentimes it requires people to sort of get that out, and so that's what we're here for. Okay, so thanks once again. Oh, actually, and Cynthia, what I was going to talk about before, I didn't follow up on Allison Fine's first request, which was the concern about the light at Winco. EJ, I know Rick's probably not on this meeting tonight, but can you write that up in a sentence or two to Rick, have him look at that and get back to Allison and the rest of the council about his analysis of the security and the driving security at that location and that turn. And I think actually what she's talking about obviously is that the approach to that light on the west side of the Winco property is, there's not much of an approach in which you see it because there's that obvious bend. So there you are, EJ.
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, I will. Rick or I will probably reach out to Allison tomorrow just to confirm which light, because there are 3 different intersections right there. So I just want to make, I'm 99% sure you're correct, Mayor, but I just want to make sure we get this correct and we're looking at the right thing. And
Very good.
We'll take care of that.
So when we used to do, as the council and EJ well know, that whenever we have a community meeting, we should just have Rick Perez mic'd up and standing right next to me, because whenever we had one of these neighborhood connection meetings, half the meeting were people going, "Where's your traffic engineer?" And so it was good. So we've got quite an asset in Rick and EJ. So thank you. Okay, any more public comment, Stephanie?
No, Mayor, that's all we have signed up.
Very good. Okay, thank you to those that we had a great public comment tonight. Thank you very much. It's all good. It's always good to hear from people. Okay, consent agenda. These items have already gone through council committee, can be passed with one motion, but I'll read the items. And if a council member wish to pull an item for separate consideration, I will ask after I read, but I need my readers. Item A, minutes for the January 19th, 2021 regular and special meetings. Item B, vouchers for November 2020. C, vouchers December 2020. D, monthly financial report November 2020. E, monthly financial report preliminary December 2020. F, agreement with Seattle Sports Commission to coordinate the NCAA swimming championship. Note this event has been canceled. This item should be pulled and have no action taken. So we'll pull item F. So council, with respect to items A through E, does the council wish to pull an item for separate consideration? Hearing none, Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move approval of items A through E on the consent agenda, and perhaps Tim Johnson could talk a little bit about what happened with the NCAA swimming and the Pac-12 swimming.
Great, let's do that after the vote. So there's been a motion.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, there's been a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of passage of items A through E?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, those items have been passed. Where is Tim Johnson? Are you on the line?
Yes,
There
sir.
he is.
I'm right here. How is everybody this evening?
There you are.
Good. Councilmember Tran, thank you very much for your earlier compliment. I appreciate it. How do I say this? I'm bummed. I'm actually beyond bummed. I'm really depressed. This was 5 years of hard work. It goes back to Jean Burbidge when she was on the council and chair, Martin Moore when he was chair, and now for Lydia. So many of you have been strung through this process. It is disheartening and discouraging, but King County made the singular decision not to open the aquatic center for the purposes of the Pac-12 or the NC2A championships. There may be questions regarding the NC2A, but I haven't heard any yet as it pertains to whether they would have pulled a plug or not at this late date and time. Unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, but the Pac-12 will leave the state of Washington, will move their operations to another state, such as Texas or North Carolina, where they have similar venues, such as our aquatic center. And to get that back is going to be a difficult task because once the Pac-12 decides that it's money that drives their decision, I'm not sure how we get them back, because those cities are going to be known for paying the cost of underwriting those venues that they will use. And that's an expensive proposition that we have never been asked to bore. And I'm afraid that that's what's going to happen in the near future. We witnessed what the Pac-12 does now. Many of their championships are played out of the Pac-12 states. Coming up will be their men's and women's basketball championships, and they will be played in Las Vegas. If it hadn't been for COVID, they would have played their Pac-12 football championships as well in Las Vegas, and actually have a signed deal for 3 years. So this may be a situation where we have, due to COVID, been impacted and been tossed upside down. I wish I had better news for all of you. We work this and work this and work this, and
we'll get through it.
We'll
get through it.
Tough one. It really is tough on economic development, and so I think that we have a report that we have commissioned through LTAC from Washington State University. School of Hospitality and Tourism. They have a series of recommendations. I'd like to bring that before the council for your review and examination and subsequent direction, because I think we're going to have to step it up and really leverage our resources that we have in order to rebuild our tourism, entertainment, and arts sector. in the community.
All right.
So
Council President
Council
Hunt.
President, I hope that answers any questions you may have. And council members, if I can be of any assistance, I'll take your question.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting the public know it. Because it was on the agenda, we had talked about it. Because it was on the agenda and we had talked about it last time, I felt it the public deserved an explanation about what was going on. So, and thank you for your work on it. And it's unfortunate. I love the swimming events. I love the fact that we have this amazing venue in Federal Way. I mean, how awesome is that? We have people from all over the world come and swim in our pool. Well, not our pool, King County's pool, but it's, they're in our city. And I realize this puts a real burden on our hotels and restaurants and the other things that are used when we have hundreds of people here for a swimming event. So thank you for your work.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Okay. All right, so that concludes the consent agenda. Let's move on to council
Mayor,
business.
I had my hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Sefa Dawson. Sorry.
I too am very disappointed, Tim. I really feel and hear what you're saying, and especially as someone who has really championed this for a number of years. I wanted to ask the mayor and Tim and anybody else if it's not too late, is there any way we could advocate, and especially if we can convince them that, I'm sure maybe it's around safety, and if that's the case and around COVID, is there any way we could tell them that we are prepared to handle that? And Tim, I know we've been talking about this. It's been, the logistics were in the works. And so what can we do to really keep this here, or to get them to decide otherwise? Is there anything?
Tim?
Mayor, Council, to answer that question, why don't I do something offline for all of you in the essence of time and provide a series of recommendations in a memo? Would that work, Mayor?
Yeah, that's wise.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we are on to council business. We've got planning commission appointments. Councilmember Baruza, do you have a motion?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. First of all, we had 5 really, really good candidates come in and interview just before our meeting here. So my motion is these are all expire on September 30th, 2024. So I move to make the following appointments for your planning commission as a voting member: Diana Noble Gulliford, Tim O'Neill, and Dale Kuchar, I believe. On alternates, we did add alternates Ann Patrick and Jay So.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congratulations to our appointees, and thank you so much for your service to our community. Okay, let's see here. Oh, and then there's did we say what the alternate was? Did you go over that?
Yes, we have 2 alternates added, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right.
We added one on. That was
right. Okay.
Ann Patrick and Jaso for alternate.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Item B, Arts Commissioner appointment, alternate to voting member. And Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move the appointment of Shelley Sue. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, to a voting member of the Arts Commission with a term to expire December 31st of 2023.
Second.
All right. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, Shelley. All right. Item C, copier and printer maintenance contract. We'll have a staff presentation by Thomas Fitchner, our IT director.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, and council members. Allow me to share my screen here. And get this rolling. Okay, so before you tonight is the approval of a copier and printer maintenance contract for the years 2021 through 2024. So we use or leverage a state contract, and that is managed by the Washington State Department of Enterprise Agreement, or sorry, Department of Enterprise Services, or DES. They enter into a cooperative agreement with the National Association of State Procurement Officials, or NASBO for short, which is what we order a lot of equipment off of, which is very good. They negotiate a lot of options on that contract as well as good pricing. Particular contract number is listed there. It's for copiers and printer managed services, or managed print services. And it's a variety of manufacturers and vendors. So HP, Canon, Xerox, Ricoh, Sharp, etc., and all the subsequent service providers for those manufacturers. With Copiers Northwest, the vendor that we have selected, they've been the city's vendor for several years, almost 10 years here. In 2017, we actually went out for an RFP. Actually, not an RFPF that I have there, an RFP for printer maintenance, as it was not on the state contract at the time. And Copiers Northwest was still selected among the several results that we got. So we've had a great history with them servicing our copiers and printers. The contract kind of overview is the term is from January 1st of this year, effective date to 7/31/2024 when the NASBO contract expires. So we want to co-term that. The annual compensation is about $50,000 a year. That's what's in our budget as part of the approved, mayor recommended and council approved budget. So the total contract value is $150 for copiers and printers. The price that we pay, they don't just get that lump sum. We pay per click or per page. And it's based on whether it's a color copy or print or black and white, copier versus printer, and the size or capacity. And I got a couple examples here shortly. But it includes all of the supplies except for paper. So toner, all the maintenance, waste toner, etc. So all the different pieces to that to make those things operational. So example of the rates are kind of as shown. So you can see just before you just a small sample of the actual rate sheet that's in the back in the contract. So the large Canon copier, it's a color copier. You're paying let's see, less than a penny a page for black and white, and you're paying about 4.7 cents for color. A smaller machine, you're paying a little bit more for black and white. And same thing you kind of see there with the small HP LaserJet color printer. It's 1.8 cents per page black and white, or 8.2 for color. So as you can see, it's significantly cheaper to print color on a larger copier than a small color printer. And then same thing with the medium. Medium LaserJet looks like just under a cent for black and white. And you can kind of see how that changes. So the most efficient way to make prints is on a larger machine because it's more efficient. Yes, it might cost more, but at the same time, it's built for larger volume. It breaks less, and thus we pay less. So quick review is we use the DES NASBO contract vehicle for this. One contract for all copier and printer supplies, so we can keep it with one vendor. Makes invoicing much more streamlined, easier. It's Copiers Northwest. Total compensation is $150,000 for a term of about 3.5 years, and the mayor recommends approval. So any questions?
All right. Council, any questions? All right. Seeing none, Councilmember Tran, do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the proposed agreement with Copiers Northwest, Inc. for a sum not to exceed $150,000 and authorize the mayor to execute said agreement.
Second.
Second.
All right. There's been a motion and a second. And is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Thank you. That concludes the business. Now we have council reports, and we will start in position number 1. Councilmember Seffa Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. And yay, we're almost done. this month being Black History Month, and we've been talking about call to action, and one of my proposal and suggestion to my community council, mayor, and everyone else is, you know how we've been talking about shop local, shop Federal Way, and I think I really want to emphasize and encourage people to shop Black businesses, Black restaurants, Black communities this month, and really support those businesses that are in our community. I think this is a great call to action, a simple one and an easy one for us to accomplish, especially now that we're at 25% restaurant in door eating. I really would encourage people to just take advantage of the situation and celebrate Black History Month by supporting our local Black businesses. So I think that's my report for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Baruso.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Safadas must have been reading my mind a little bit, because that's what I was going to say. But again, just reiterate that this is Black History Month, not just week. And so there are other ways also to celebrate through song, food, other ways, reading. So please, let's just all take a look at that. And just like Councilmember Safadas said, it is a call to action. So there's other things we can do to celebrate Black History Month. Not just today, not just this week, but for the whole month. So now I have my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So next week, February 12th, is the Lunar New Year. So I just want to take this opportunity to wish all of you and the community a happy Lunar New Year.
Hear, hear. Thank you. Councilmember Tran. Excuse me. Councilmember Kraft.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to say also happy Lunar New Year to everyone. And I also want to say happy Black History Month. So I want to say, obviously, thank you for Councilmember Safadas and Councilmember Baruso for bringing that up as a call to action. And one of the other ways that we can participate is by attending the virtual events by the Northwest African American Museum. They have a schedule of events this entire month. It ranges from poetry to singing. So celebrating Black artists as well is another way that we can get involved. I just also want to shout out to Councilmember Baruso again for the food drive. And it was really great being out there for a few hours this past weekend and seeing more of the community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Councilmember Moore.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Grow a little beard, but that's not my report, Mr. Mayor. My report is to also wish everybody a happy Lunar Year, and also happy Black History Month as well. It's such an imposing, and others that have said it's not just about 1 month. It's really recognizing our Black community 365 days. And so I wanted to also give a shout out to Councilmember Greg Baruso. I really appreciated your leadership on the food drive. I know you've led that as a commissioner for several years, and now you're doing it as a council member. I know you got some pushback, and I know you believed in it hard. And I appreciate everybody coming around, rallying behind that idea to serve our community. I think that's really important. And so truly, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your steadfast in that, and for making it happen. And shout out to Jerry Lynn, who also played a pivotal role in the planning and the logistics of all that, and of course, thanks to our commissioners for joining. It was fun. It was fun to be out in the community. It was fun talking with our community members, the public, and so I really appreciate that, Greg. Thank you for your leadership on that. Also, I had the chance to attend the African American quarterly meeting, and like the mayor said, it was a good meeting. It was an authentic meeting, I think is a good way of saying it. And so I enjoyed listening and just being present. And so I had a wonderful conversation with Tirza Idahosa, and just to kind of share with all my colleagues, she really kind of inspired me. And if you know Tirza, you know that she's very powerful with her words, and many people are. But I really enjoy listening to her words of wisdom. And one of the things that she kind of said, and I'm paraphrasing, is we have the opportunity to do great things, and it's upon us to do that and work with the community to make that happen. And so, I'm going to continue to commit myself to learn, to do greatness, and to work together as a team with our community and with our colleagues, with my colleagues. And so I really appreciated her words and whatnot. I also really, my heart always goes out to many people, in this case, Betty Taylor. I've been somewhat keeping track of what's happening. Really, to my colleagues and to my new colleagues, this is the fundamental reason why we have the rental inspection program in Federal, in my opinion. It is that very same reason where people like Betty and others have a mechanism to go to the city, file a complaint or an issue or challenge, whatever you want to call it, and for an entity to hold another entity accountable. And that's the fundamental reason why. And so I will continue to champion for a rental inspection program. Some of my colleagues know that I've been advocating for that long and hard. I'm absolutely grateful that it's in the budget, and that we continue to make moves forward. But really, it's her story is the exact reason why then Councilmember Johnson, myself, and others have advocated for. I know that Councilmember Asafa Dawson's advocated for it as well, and whatnot. And so I just wanted to kind of put that reminder out there. And I know that we're going to work towards passing such a measure to make sure that it is law within the city that says we're going to protect our neighbors, we're going to protect our families, and we're going to protect renters here in Federal Way. And so I wanted to kind of mention that. Also, Mr. Mayor, and I apologize for my long-winded report, but there's a few items I wanted to say. And that's Camp Kilworth. It's such an important piece of history, and it's not the only one. I know Weyerhaeuser holds such a special place in our hearts as well. But Camp Kilworth, I just want to put it out there, Mr. Mayor, that once again I hear rumblings, and I just want to make sure that we're staying absolutely on top of it. I know Council President Honda has advocated, and she's worked on this issue as well. And so I just want to keep putting that in the forefront under my report, Mr. Mayor. And also want to, I'm very pleased to hear that we're having a energy/environmental footprint discussion at the Parks and Human Services. I think it's really important. I know that Councilmember Bruce and myself have been discussing this, and it's really important that we step back and look at the big picture within the Federal Way and saying, what are we doing as policymakers to make Federal Way a better place when it comes to our environment? And I know that we're starting to see Tesla plugins. We're starting to see that around the city, and there's so much more work to be done in that. And Mr. Mayor, I've heard you talking about that. So look forward to partnering and working to identify as a city, as a whole, what's our environmental footprint, and taking it from there. So with that, I think I got all my items, and I thank you for the time to my colleagues. And Mr. Mayor, thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. All right, Council President Honda.
Thank you. Today on our phone call with Patty Hayes, the SCA call, Director Hayes, excuse me, from Director of King County Seattle Public Health. She had a few parting words that I'd like to repeat, and she actually asked us to repeat these words, so I will. She said, to be aggressive in being cautious if you go out now that we're in phase 2, because we don't want to roll back to phase 1 or whatever phase it could be called. She said the light is at the end of the tunnel. We're all frustrated. Continue to be cautious. We do hope that the doses of the vaccine go up. We certainly do need quite a bit more in King County. We are the biggest county population-wise in the state. And make sure that your masks fit. You know, it's really important that you do wear a mask, but it's really important that you wear a mask that fits and that you wear it properly. And if you have any need to find out how a mask is to be worn properly or if it fits correctly, there's all sorts of information on the internet as to that, or you could give us a call and we would help you. But some masks I've seen on some folks probably don't fit very well and are not serving the purpose that we need them to serve. I'd also like to thank the governor for moving us into phase 2 and to allowing our restaurants and gyms and other venues to open up at 25%. I'm very hopeful that we are not rolled back to phase 1. I think that would be very, very, very detrimental to these businesses. They have hurt. We've lost restaurants, we've lost gyms, we've lost other small businesses. And there was a excuse me, a restaurant owner on TV last night, and he said that the one thing he would ask us to do is to love local. And I haven't heard that before, but I love that. Valentine's Day is coming up. You know, February is Black History Month. It's Valentine's month. It's my birthday month. It's the month of the city's incorporation. But love local. It's easy. It's simple. It flows. It could be a new slogan. So please support our local restaurants now that they're open. I understand that there are people who felt that this was moving us to phase 2 was probably inappropriate with new strains of COVID coming out. And all I can say is that we still need to remain really cautious. And if you're not comfortable going out, there's no need to go out. But for those who are, just remain cautious. And I see Chief Wong is still on the line. We were notified today that one of the founding members of our police department was killed in the line of duty yesterday. And perhaps, if it's all right, Mayor, Chief could talk about this. You know, the country lost 2 FBI officers today. They were also killed in the line of duty, and others were injured. It's always a really awful thing, and this hits home. So if it's all right, Mayor, I'd like to finish and let the chief talk.
Sure. Mike Boutte was one of our founding members. We started our police department in October of 1996, and he came onto our agency as a lateral police officer in November of 1996. So he worked for us for about 5 years, and then he wanted to do different things in the military. So he left to do different things, and then we kind of lost track of him. But he became a deputy in Mississippi, and he rose to the ranks and became a lieutenant. And he was responding to mental health call, I believe, and he was shot and killed. I wanted to share with you from law enforcement perspective. Also, 5 FBI agents were shot today and 2 were killed. 2020 has been the worst law enforcement for line of duty death since they've been keeping track. So more than 334 officers, and they say that's a low estimate, and I'm including COVID as well. Just to give you an idea, in 2019, only 133 officers were killed in the line of duty. We're already up to 334, and they believe that's a low count. There'll be a higher count with COVID. And in terms of officers being shot and killed is certainly up as well. So we're starting off 2021, not so good as well. So the job itself has gotten more dangerous and challenging, but I did, coming back to Lieutenant Boutte, I did get a chance to speak to his daughter, Jessica. Obviously, the family just devastated. He was the anchor for the family, so she could hardly keep it together, but we had a good conversation. I want you to know that I had Deputy Chief Sumter reach out to the family liaison of the Sheriff's Department, and we are sending department artifacts in terms of the older badge that we had, the patch. We're looking for photos. We've asked department-wide for photos of Mike so we can send it for their memorial service. But he was well respected, so it is a tremendous loss. And it's kind of interesting when we saw the national news and that smile, you can recognize that smile from 20 years ago. You go, that's him, because of that smile that he had. So, I want to so thank you for bringing that awareness about law enforcement. And it feels a little strange when you, spend time with someone, had lunch with someone, spent some time together. After all these years, when you find out that someone you knew is killed in the line of duty, it's still kind of, and talking to the daughter, that was the toughest part because the family just devastated.
And I want the council to know and the community to know I sent a letter to his daughter today, letting her know, that he was a founding member of our department and how much we appreciated his service. In fact, actually, let's have a moment of silence for Mike now, if we would. All right. Thank you. It is it's the ultimate sacrifice, and he was one of the founding members of our police department. So, thank you. Okay. With that, our business is complete. Thank you, council, for a very good meeting, and we are adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.